Men's rights and men's issues continue to be a polarizing and controversial topic. With the rise of feminism and victimhood culture, men, especially white men, continue to be discriminated against due to their alleged privilege in society. This concept could not be farther from the truth. One of the topics I would like to cover today is suicide. Now, yes, I do realise that women also commit suicide and are much more likely to self-harm than men. However, there's a trend here in the UK and the USA of men, especially in their late 30s, early 40s, of killing themselves. The purpose of this video is to look at the facts, then possibly speculate as to the reasons why men disproportionately commit suicide, followed by my own experiences. So starting with America, the number of suicides across the board had been on the rise over the last decade or so, with a suicide average rate of 10.97 per 100,000 in 2006, steadily increasing to 13.26 in 2015. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in America, with over 44,000 suicides a year. Men die by suicide 3.5 times more often than women, and white men made up 7 out of 10 suicides in 2015. According to the AFSP website, American Indians and whites were most likely to commit suicide, and you were most in danger if you were middle-aged or over the age of 85. However, data on suicide for the US and the UK, and I would imagine other nations, can be somewhat off-point, as many suicide attempts go unreported. Women attempt suicide 3 times more often than males, whereas males were 4 times more likely to actually die during their attempt. Now, if we move on to British statistics, we start to see very similar trends. Obviously, the numbers aren't the same due to massive population differences and culture differences, but they are similar in terms of who's affected. British data was taken from the Samaritans website from 2015, and just like American statistics, many cases of self-harm were underreported. 6,188 suicides were registered in the UK and 451 in the Republic of Ireland. The highest suicide rate in the UK was for men aged between 40 and 44. The highest suicide rate in the Republic of Ireland was for men aged 25 to 34, with an almost identical rate for men aged 45 to 54. Rates have increased in the UK by 3.8%, England by 2%, Wales 61.8%, and Northern Ireland 18.5% since 2014. However, increases in Wales and Northern Ireland may be explained by inconsistencies in the processes for recording suicides in these countries. Rates have decreased in Scotland by 1.4% and the Republic of Ireland by 13.1% since 2014. In England and the UK, female suicide rates are at their highest in a decade. Male rates remain consistently higher than female suicide rates across the UK and the Republic of Ireland, most notably 5 times higher in Republic of Ireland and around 3 times in the UK. Samaritan data suggests a change between male and female suicide, but this just could be a natural progression and may not suggest a trend. Obviously, this isn't a competition, and suicide rates would have most likely increased in the last 2 years due to conservative austerity measures. Legislation like the bedroom tax and a severe clamping down on disability benefits have caused a high number of suicides. I would normally attribute blame on suicide to divorce, but rates of divorce have dropped by 9.1% in 2015. Now, as you can see from the statistics, Western suicide rates and who they affect are very similar. Now, before we carry on, I want to take a look at Australian and the Republic of Ireland statistics separately. In Australia, 2015 preliminary data showed a total of 3,027 deaths by suicide, 12.7 per 100,000, 2,292 males, 19.4 per 100,000, and 735 females, 6.2 per 100,000. There were 2,864 deaths in 2014, 12.2 per 100,000. Also in 2015, preliminary data showed an average of 8.3 deaths by suicide in Australia each year. For those of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander descent, there were 152 deaths due to suicide, 110 male, 42 female, which was the 5th most common cause of death. The highest age-specific suicide rate for males in 2015 was observed in the 85-plus age group, 39.3 per 100,000, with 68 deaths. This rate was considerably higher than the age-specific suicide rate observed in all other age groups, with the next highest age-specific suicide rate being in the 45 to 49, 40 to 44, and 50 to 54 year age groups, 31.5, 30.6, and 30.5 per 100,000 respectively. The lowest age-specific suicide rate for males was in the 0 to 14 year age group, 0.3 per 100,000, and the 15 to 19 year age group, 11.8 per 100,000. The highest age-specific suicide rate for females in 2015 was observed in the 45 to 49 age group with 82 deaths, 10.4 per 100,000, followed by the 50 to 54, 35 to 39, and 55 to 59 age groups, 9.4, 8.6, and 8.6 per 100,000 respectively. The lowest age-specific suicide rate for females was observed in the 0 to 14 age group with 8 deaths, 0.4 per 100,000, followed by the 65 to 69 age group, 45 per 100,000, and the 60 to 64 and 75 to 79 age groups, both 5.4 100,000 respectively. Consistently over the past 10 years, the number of suicide deaths was approximately 3 times higher in males than females. In 2015, 75.6% of people who died by suicide were male. In the Republic of Ireland, the suicide rate was alarmingly high between 2004 and 2015. In 2015, males made up over 20 out of every 100,000 of suicides, the highest number of which were men in their late 40s and early 50s. Around 60% of these men were single, although it is not stated whether they were married prior. So all of this data has been incredibly sobering, and I would like to clarify that I in no way wish to take away from women or their experiences. Self-harm among women is very, very high, and I will most likely formulate a separate video talking about women's issues, although I'm sure there's more mainstream content pertaining to this. And before I carry on, I will most likely produce a video outlining military veteran suicide, as their experiences are generally unique to them having served. Now, my own experience with suicide and suicidal thoughts have been somewhat of a roller coaster ride. I've spent far more time trying to prevent friends during my teens from killing themselves or self-harming than actually trying to kill myself or thinking about suicide. For me, it's primarily been thoughts and self-harming through punching things. The worst thing I've done is try to ram a pair of scissors through my arm as I couldn't get near the knives. Luckily for me, my other half was able to prevent my real attempts at damaging myself. I've spent far more time sat there thinking about thrusting a blade through my own neck, if anything. People become suicidal for a number of reasons. Clinical depression, which is a block in your serotonin inhibitors, which regulate your mood. Hell, even antidepressants can contribute to you being suicidal. It literally says on the medical leaflets of most SSRI antidepressants that it can lead you to becoming suicidal. There's post-traumatic stress disorder, caused by extreme or at least perceived extreme events in life which can cause flashbacks. Various addictions can lead to suicidal tendencies as well. Divorce, debt, and many other factors play a serious part in all of this. I have to wonder, of course, whether middle-aged men are committing suicide more often, whether it's due to a midlife crisis which can cause serious reflection. Looking back on your past and your past mistakes and what you didn't do can be incredibly depressing. Now, I want you to know that if you're watching this and are currently experiencing suicidal thoughts, or for anyone who may end up having such thoughts, that you are worth something. You may not believe me, and I know it's not something you want to hear. Please, please, please seek out professional help from trained staff. There's a suicide hotline in most Western nations. There's plenty of sources you can read that will help. There are plenty of methods that teach you how to break out of a suicidal mood. Techniques like state breaking, which I'll link in the description along with all other sources, are very unique and effective. Even if you aren't suicidal, learning how to state break or learning how to state break someone else can be so helpful. State breaking is a way of aggressively pulling yourself out of your funk to make you consider factors that you may not whilst feeling down. Seriously guys, I implore you to go check it out. It's very interesting and can be used in so many situations. For the purpose of this video, I'm also going to link Jeff Holliday's video on mental health, depression and suicide, as it was incredibly helpful. I believe that when I sent this video to a suicidal friend of mine, it prevented them from taking their own life that night. It's one of the most empathetic and put together well-researched videos I have ever seen. Now back to men, I believe men, especially those in the older generations, are the type of guys who will suffer in silence and allow emotions to build up. It's entirely possible they feel like it's some kind of weakness to express themselves when you're sad. I can assure you it takes strength to admit how you feel. Talk to someone. Anyone. The internet is a great place for remaining anonymous. Even 4chan has an advice section. You can go there, be anonymous, and people will help. You can call specialized free-to-call charities that are staffed 24/7. If you're a dad, you are worth your life. If you're a brother, an uncle, a son, a friend, a lover, it doesn't matter. Your life is precious. Please talk to someone. Whether you believe it or not, people do care. And trust me when I say this, I know what it's like. You don't want to believe anyone loves you. You don't believe anyone cares about you. You think you're worthless and useless. You think the world is pitted against you. Take up a hobby and focus on goals. Do YouTube, do Twitter, do Twitch. Draw, write, garden, paint, walk, run, rescue an animal, help charities. Just focus on something to take your mind away. Having goals helps, trust me. YouTube saved my life last year. I gave myself something to focus on, to work hard on. Yeah, it stresses me out. But having goals, learning how to network, making friends that I now consider family has all been worth it. Guys, do me a favor. If you're unhappy, if you're down, if life is dragging you down, please talk to someone. Talk to each other in this comment section. Help each other, love each other, or at least come together to try and achieve something together. I hope this video helped. I've been Irate Bear. Peace.